I'm Charlie Mato-Toyela with Blue Bear Flutes, and as you know, our website is bluebearflutes.com. That is bluebearflutes.com. Don't forget, instead of asking me in this video, do you still sell these, why don't you try out bluebearflutes.com. And for those of you back home laughing, honest to God, I get emails, or I get posts on YouTube videos like that, and I try to respond to them as quickly as possible, but it's in the description, it's in the video, this is what I'm talking about. Anyway, enough said. So I get a lot of people asking me, should I buy a flute or should I buy a flute making kit? And to me, it's kind of a simple answer for that. Are you interested in learning to make Native American flutes? Then buy this kit. Are you interested in learning how to play the Native American flute? Then buy this flute. For some people, I guess what it boils down to is it looks like a more cost-effective option to make your own. And if that's what you're going for, but you want something that's going to play perfectly, I'm going to suggest to you buying a flute instead of a kit. It's that simple. And the reason being is if you're going to make one of these and you think it's kind of novel to make your own, then by all means, a flute kit is a great way to go. If you think it's something that you want to start doing, or if you have gotten the epiphany like so many have over the last while, I mean like 20 years or so, if you've decided that you wanted to make a flute and go into business making flutes, and my warnings haven't helped you any or curbed your enthusiasm in that particular area, by all means, it's a good way to start out is buying a kit, because then you can kind of see what it takes to go into it. But at the same instance, if you want to know what a good sounding flute sounds like, and you don't want to, you want to make sure that you're doing everything right. There's not really a right way to do anything. You might want to start off with a flute, like I say. So there's some options. And the reason we're making this video is just basically to show you what it's going to take. And we're not going to build a flute during this video, so don't think you have to turn it off or fast forward to where the good part is. We've made so many videos of making Native American flutes, and we've got more videos coming out of making Native American flutes. We've got videos that are in the editing process right now on making Native American flutes that are waiting to happen. But this is just for those customers who are thinking, I want to do this now. And I hate to date things, so I'm not going to give you kind of a preview of what's happening in the next couple of weeks, but I can tell you as a general statement, if you keep an eye on our Instagram, on our Facebook, if you sign up for newsletters, which we put out on a rare occasion, maybe 3 or 4 of them a year at the most. I'm not going to email you, or at least I haven't been emailing you. Maybe that would be a good idea in the future. I should email you guys as much as some of those big companies do, so I could be big. Anyway, so we put out an email every once in a while to give you kind of a heads up of what's going on. But like I said, in the future, I'm sure, there's going to be some live streams where we actually put together one of our flute making kits during a live video, and that gives an opportunity for a lot of you to say, hey, what do I do if I do this? What do I do if I do that? Sometimes we might even be running a promotion where we're selling flute kits in time for a certain seasonal happening, and then have a live stream here on YouTube, possibly on Instagram, maybe on Facebook. There's no telling. You just got to keep up with what we're doing, and we'll have a live stream of us putting it together so that you can kind of see what it takes. Like I said, I've got lots of videos on putting our flute kits together, specific playlists here on YouTube that will help you know what you're doing, what you're getting into from start to finish. It's not that difficult, it really isn't. But I don't want you to get the impression that you're going to master this thing in one flute kit. It took me thousands of flutes, I'd say, probably hundreds, but honestly thousands of flutes to really master what it takes to make these things. It's not difficult. I've always told you in all of my videos, it's not rocket science. We've always made videos for both groups of people who want to play flutes and people who want to make flutes. And sometimes those who want to play flutes are curious about how they're made. So there's some crossover videos in there, like this one. And I just want to make sure that I steer you in the right direction, because you're not going to make this flute this week for the first time. You might luck out and then play it on stage next week as a professional flute player. That has happened before, but it's just really unlikely. And I want to make sure I set you guys and gals and everybody else, I want to set you some reasonable and some, considerate expectations so that you know what it is that you're getting into. So once again, one of our key of A flute making kits, probably the simplest ones that we currently offer. We do have some other flute making kits coming out, some smaller flute making kits that'll come in 2 pieces, and some other flute making kits that'll be like for school kids type of thing, where you really just put a plug in it and that's it. But this kit here is pretty simple to put together. If you've got anything from Elmer's glue to super glue to whatever kind of glue you can come up with, you could really put this flute kit together. Like I said, we have helped hundreds of thousands, millions of people all over the world learn how to make Native American flutes, and really probably help them with other flutes as well, and even help some of the big name flute makers out there get some really good ideas. You know who I'm talking about. Anyway, it's something you can do. It is not impossible. This thing's made in 2 pieces. You glue it together, and then the hardest part of making a Native American flute is this little track area. So we've got videos after videos after videos, the secret to Native American flute making, flute track specifics, how to repair this if you mess it up, which is 99% of the time is going to happen for your first couple of tries. If you take your time, it might not be as likely to happen. So take your time making the track. Make sure that it's reasonable depth, but not too deep. Say a millimeter, 2 millimeters deep. I mean, it's kind of challenging. It really is. 3, 6 millimeters deep is going to be okay. It really is. But 2 is about where we're at on what it is that we do. A smaller flute is usually easier than making a larger flute. This is a key of A. This dude here is a key of G flute making kit. All of our flute making kits come with some sandpaper. They come with a little block, come with some leather lace so that you can tie it together. But there's a lot of experience and know-how that only comes from our videos. And if you experience it and gain some know-how, that's where a lot of it comes from. Putting this thing together, a key of G flute kit, it's only baby steps above making a key of A. It's pretty simple. Honestly, the pattern is almost exactly the same, except for this one's larger in diameter. So it takes us a little bit more work to make it hollow, and a lot more work sanding on the outside. This guy here, to get it to the next step, is sanding wise, it's pretty simple. The smaller, less surface area you have, the less sanding you have to do, the easier it is. This one, larger surface area, a lot more sanding you're going to have to do on the outside to get it round. And eventually, when you get it to this stage, that's where learning how to make this area here next is going to be a trick. And like I said, we've got lots of videos for that. This flute here is almost completed. It's got a little bit more work to do. Am I going to guarantee yours is going to sound like that? Not necessarily. And then we have a lot of people that have other questions. Now, granted, don't get me wrong, we've had, oh my gosh, I think probably hundreds of thousands at least, but possibly millions of people who have made Native American flutes and sent us their information about what they've done, sent us video, pictures, everything posted on our Facebook. Have joined our Blue Bear Flutes Facebook group, which once again, we're in there once in a while, but it's a lot of work keeping this thing going. Have posted, tagged us on Instagram, and showed us, Blue Bear flutes here. Here's us making a flute that we learned on Blue Bear Flutes YouTube videos, or here's one that we learned to play from Blue Bear Flutes. So a completed flute, like I say, is really the best way to go for someone who is solely interested or mostly interested in playing the flute. This is going to help you get there the quickest and easiest without as much learning curve. The other guys, like I say, is really great if you want to know what it takes to make one, but you're going to have to commit to it. You can't stop. You can't put it in the closet and hope you finish it later. Don't do that. And then the next step people ask is, and of course too, I should mention that goes for A's and G's and F sharps. Those are not too difficult to make, but when it comes to the key of E, which is a little bit sizably larger, and the key of low D, it's easier to mess up a lower tone flute. Plus, it costs more for the kit or for the flute than it does to buy, the smaller ones. The smaller ones are a little less expensive, but the larger ones take us more work to make the kits and the flutes, and likewise, you can figure it out and do the math. But making a low D flute and making it play really perfectly, it's challenging. I'm not discouraging you from trying that, but if you're wanting to do it and play on stage next week, you might want to think ahead. Now, traveling on to flute making kits. Our flute making kits, our drone flute making kits, I'm ahead of myself, they are in 2 pieces as well. They're actually rounded off. I just grabbed this drone flute blank out of the shop, so I haven't even cut the bottom of it off yet, which we cut off before we even put them together in the shop for our own making. It's just how we route them. It's part of the job. But anyway, imagine the workload it takes to get this thing made and playing by hand with sandpaper and whatever tools you can come up with if you have tools. If you don't, that's fine too. Like I say, you can make this stuff without tools, but you have to commit to it. Making a single track in a single flute is one thing. Making it double inside of a drone and perfecting this area here at the top and getting it just right, not just once, but twice, and then getting them to play in conjunction with one another, making sure that this drone chamber and this drone chamber match. And I put a hole in the back. You may decide not to. It's up to you. Like I said, it's kind of like my dad used to say, 6 of one and half a dozen of another. What should you do? I'm going to leave that up to you. And I'm just going to tell you, if you're up for the challenge, please make an instrument. It is amazing. It is very rewarding, very enriching in your life, very fulfilling. But if you're looking for something that's already made for you, we have a lot of that. And it's really great stuff. And, certainly if you have need of something that you want to do a little more customization, we don't usually charge you more for allowing you to customize it yourself. Although our finishing process with oil and wax that makes it nice and shiny on the end product, even though it's a hands-on technique, is not something that I really figure into the cost of our flutes. So it's going to cost you about the same to have a finished flute versus an unfinished flute that's pretty well there for you already. And then the drone, really this finish that we're starting to switch over to here, this kind of darker colored natural stain that I'm going to be talking about in some of our upcoming videos, that's something that is kind of new and something really kind of great. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of touch base with this. I had a lot of people ask questions, and if you're wanting to get something in time for some seasonal type holiday or something, or for a birthday, a flute kit is a very thoughtful item. It really is. Just make sure you think ahead quite a bit. Give yourself time to complete it. And we're always here. I mean, we try to answer as many questions as we possibly can, and we have so many great people helping answer those questions on our Facebook page, Blue Bear Flutes, as well as my YouTube channel, Blue Bear Flutes. We try to get to all those questions. So, if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand, and we'll be here to help you best we can anyway. So once again, Charlie Mato-Toyela signing out for Blue Bear Flutes and BlueBearFlutes.com. We hope to see you here, flute making and flute playing the Native American flute in the very near future, and we'll see you then. Take care.